This moment matters. We must rise to meet it.
Tonight, the breaking news, President Biden defiant in his first solo news conference since that poor showing at the presidential debate.
I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again.
Is it enough to quiet concerns within his own party?
I'm not in this for my legacy. I'm in this to complete the job I started.
The CBS Evening News starts now. President Biden just wrapping up a critical press conference, answering reporters' questions off teleprompter and forcefully saying he is up to the job. Did he convince Democratic lawmakers and American voters? Good evening. I'm Norah O'Donnell, and thank you for being with us. The president spoke for about an hour, starting with the success of this NATO summit. He said not a single European leader asked him not to run. Instead, he said they told him another Trump presidency would be a disaster. President Biden said he is not running for his legacy, but to finish the job that he started. Still, Democrats are asking two questions tonight. Is Biden up to the challenge of beating Donald Trump in November? And if he can, is he fit to serve another 4 years in the White House? We have team coverage of the president's high-stakes press conference. CBS's Ed O'Keefe is going to start us off tonight. Good evening, Ed.
Good evening, Nora. In that news conference, the president said delegates to the Democratic convention are welcome to vote for whoever they want, but predicted they'll stand by him. And yet tonight, there are growing calls for him to withdraw amid growing fears he'll lose badly to Donald Trump. President Biden's much-anticipated news conference began with a gaffe on the first question, as he confused the name of his vice president with his Republican rival.
What concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
And earlier, when introducing the Ukrainian president at a separate event, he mistook Volodymyr Zelensky for the Russian president.
Now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
A reporter asked him to explain the mistake.
Talking about Putin, and I said, and now, at the very end, I said, Putin. I said, no, I'm sorry, Zelensky. And then I added 5 other names.
But the president made clear he isn't going anywhere, despite calls from within his own party to stand down.
I'm not in this for my legacy. I'm in this to complete the job I started.
Biden discussed what he called his stupid debate performance and said he needs to better manage his time.
And if you looked at my schedule since I made that stupid mistake in the campaign, in the debate, I mean, my schedule has been full bore. Where's Trump been? Riding around in his golf cart, filling out his scorecard before he hits the ball? I mean, look, he's done virtually nothing.
The president also defended the record of Vice President Kamala Harris.
This was a hell of a prosecutor. She was a first-rate person, and in the Senate she was really good. I wouldn't have picked her unless I thought she was qualified to be president.
Now, the former president, Donald Trump, was watching. He mocked the president's gaffes, but of course Trump has made some of his own. Earlier today, the Biden campaign told lawmakers and supporters they know the president took a hit in the polls after the recent debate, but they're arguing the race is still neck and neck. And the Biden team said they've been polling whether Vice President Harris could defeat Trump. Their numbers, at least so far, suggest only the president can. Nora?
Ed O'Keefe, thank you very much for that wrap-up. And now we are just getting Democratic response to tonight's press conference as more members of the party defect. CBS's Scott McFarland is on Capitol Hill. And good evening, Scott. What are you learning?
And Nora, moments after the news conference ended, Connecticut Democrat Jim Himes, the top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee, said the president should withdraw. Now more than a dozen congressional Democrats asking the president to stand down.
As President Biden tries to regain his footing with Democrats on Capitol Hill.
We just want to make sure that Donald Trump is not president.
The ground is getting more slippery.
You think a single press conference can change things?
Heavens no. The mere fact that we're sitting here having a conversation about whether or not our candidate for president can get through a press conference, on NATO, by the way, and we're having to talk about, hope he gets through it. That's not what you want.
Several more House Democrats today publicly urged the president to withdraw, as the top Democrat in the House acknowledged he's getting an earful.
Do they confer with you, try to get your blessing, notify you in advance?
As you can imagine, there have been a lot of conversations, and those conversations are private.
This afternoon, 3 top Biden campaign officials met privately with Senate Democrats, trying to prevent bleeding support.
Can we honestly say that we're on a path to defeating Donald Trump?
But they've already lost one. Vermont's Peter Welch was the first to say the president should bail on re-election.
Why was this the time, sir?
Who knows when the right time is?
The president's most vocal supporters in Congress include members of the Congressional Black Caucus, but the Nevada Democrat who chairs the group says the Biden campaign still needs to prove itself.
The need to make change, structural change in the campaign, change around strategy, change around how we make investments and spending. To do what? To win in November.
Before the news conference, the Biden campaign circulated a memo to House members and House aides saying they're within the margin of error in the battleground states. They're trying to steady this ship, Nora.
Scott McFarland on the Hill for us tonight. Thank you very much. Joining us now is CBS News Chief Washington correspondent Major Garrett. Major, the president was forceful. He was defiant. He spoke for a long time on a complex number of foreign policy issues. Was it enough?
It was a solid performance, but those gaffes become more important. They take on a larger significance. And Nora, one of the people that was in Scott McFarland's story, Adam Smith, ranking Democrat, Armed Services Committee, told me by the end of this weekend, there will be no fewer than 20 House Democrats asking President Biden to step aside. And he said there is a plan, don't know how formulaic it is, for Senate and House leadership, Democratic, to go to the president and say, if there were a vote among Democrats in the House and Senate, you would lose a no confidence vote. To communicate to the president that even with this press conference, there is bleeding and it's going to continue. And you must reconsider this adamant position you've taken to stay in the race.
But there was nothing tonight that suggested that the president is reconsidering this. He said he's got a full schedule. He's moving forward. He talked about dealing with Putin and Xi and other world leaders.
Near the end, he said the delegates are not going to change their mind. I've won the primaries and the caucuses. I don't believe the polls that show me I'm down, and I'm not getting out of this race. So that adamant position of the president holds for tonight.
Major Garrett, thank you very much. It's been days since Beryl made landfall in Texas, but tonight 1 million homes and businesses there are still without power, which means no air conditioner and no fridge in the brutal heat. People are getting desperate, looking for answers as to why it is taking so long to turn the lights back on. And now Texas Governor Greg Abbott is calling for an investigation into the power company. CBS's Janet Shamlian reports from a sweltering hot Houston.
Thank you. This is the excruciating wait for water and a few basic food items in searing 90-degree heat.
How are you faring? It's been hard. It's been hard. Like yesterday, all of our food ruined the day before yesterday, so we haven't eaten since the day before yesterday.
Tonight, more than 900,000 people in the Houston area are without power for a fourth day. At dozens of cooling centers, tempers are running hot.
Everyone knew days ahead that we were getting a hurricane, right? So I would expect them to be more prepared and quicker to resolve issues.
In the West, a relentless heat wave. It's the 6th consecutive day temperatures in Las Vegas have hit 115 degrees.
We were going to walk up and down the strip, but it's just way too hot to do that.
There have been about 90 suspected heat-related deaths in the West since the start of July. Back in Houston, a sports arena has been outfitted with cots, a temporary shelter for people discharged from a hospital, but with no power at home.
This is the facility where those patients will be spending the night. CenterPoint says it will restore power to some 400,000 customers by Friday, but that will leave hundreds of thousands of people without power, without air conditioning, through Sunday, almost a week after the storm. Nora?
Janet Shamlian, thank you. Now a look at tonight's other top stories, starting with Alec Baldwin's involuntary manslaughter trial. Today's testimony focusing on the gun and ammunition that led to the deadly shooting on the set of his movie Rust. CBS's Elise Preston is in New Mexico.
As the prosecution builds its case, Nora, Baldwin's defense is trying to poke holes in the evidence, claiming the actor had no idea that the prop gun could be deadly. Alec Baldwin looked on as a crime scene technician testified that live bullets were discovered mixed in with dummy rounds in several places on the set of Rust. At first glance, both types of ammunition appear similar, but a slight color variation differentiates the two. The film's armorer, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, who's already convicted of involuntary manslaughter, could be called to the stand tomorrow, but is expected to plead the fifth.
Now to some important economic news and a key report that shows inflation is cooling, but not everyone is feeling the effects. CBS's Jolene Kent explains.
Nora, prices went up slower than expected in June, but monthly expenses like car insurance continue to skyrocket, up nearly 20% compared to last year. The encouraging news, gas prices are falling and grocery prices are holding relatively steady. The overall slowing down of inflation in recent months could bring relief on interest rates. The cooling off in June makes it more likely the Federal Reserve could cut interest rates come September.
And a Lego heist. Yes, you heard that right. The building blocks Lego. CBS's Dave Malkoff shows us the new target for thieves.
Nora, there are some Lego sets that can cost almost $1,000. And now police say they have snapped together the clues to make a big brick bust.
These are over 4,000 stolen Lego sets worth more than $200,000. Oregon police accuse a Lego dealer of purchasing boxes of bricks he knew were stolen from big box stores. And just a few months ago in California, the State Highway Patrol recovered $300,000 worth of stolen sets, including Lego Porsche 911s. It adds up to enough money to buy 2 real Porsches.
Well, thanks to our CBS News teams across the country. In tonight's Health Watch, an eye-opening new study from the American Cancer Society. Researchers found that about half of cancer cases and deaths could be prevented with changes in lifestyle. The leading preventable factors in cancer deaths are smoking, excess body weight, drinking alcohol, physical inactivity, and diet. CBS's Dr. John LaPook joins us now. And John, I think we know some of this, but the numbers are pretty staggering, right?
They are, Nora. To me, it's a wake-up call. So many people are understandably terrified of cancer and think it's largely genetic, it's out of their control. But that's not true. About half of deaths might be prevented by things we can actually do something about. It's really hard to stop smoking. We all know that. But it can be done, and it's a lot easier never to start in the first place. Some strategies for preventing death from cancer are relatively easy to do, but we're simply not doing them well enough. Infection with human papillomavirus, that's HPV, can lead to cancer of the cervix in women and throat and tongue in men. There's a vaccine that can prevent HPV infection, but less than 40% of eligible children receive at least 1 dose. And about 40% of infected Americans don't know they have hepatitis C, a virus that can cause liver cancer and is easily curable. They don't know because they haven't had a simple screening blood test, which the CDC recommends for all adults. Bottom line, we're all human. It's a lot easier said than done to make the right lifestyle choices like eating a healthy diet and staying active. But a study like this reminds us we have significant control, Nora, over what happens to our bodies.
So true. And I'm thinking about one of the top cancers, skin cancer. Use the sunscreen.
That's for sure.
Dr. LaPook, thank you.
Thank you.
Eye on America is next with a look at the alarming rise in rents and the real-life impact evictions are having on people who can no longer afford to pay them.
Easy, my phone.
We're in the midst of an affordable housing crisis. And as rents increase nationally, so do the number of eviction notices. According to the website Zillow, rents have jumped more than 30% from pre-pandemic prices. In tonight's Eye on America, CBS's Chris Van Cleve reports from one of the hardest hit counties, Maricopa County, Arizona, where a tsunami of evictions is leaving people homeless.
When Mahogany Kennedy knocks at a door in Phoenix,
Constable! Does the person understand that they're getting evicted?
it usually means someone is about to become homeless.
Grab your bag. We're going to change the locks.
She's one of 26 Maricopa County constables. It's her job to serve eviction notices.
Eviction numbers have truly gone up over the past few months.
So pretty much every day you're evicting people?
Every day I'm evicting, 5 days a week.
On this day, she'll attempt to serve 3 evictions.
She's gone.
Including at this apartment.
Well, this is a 3-bedroom apartment.
Which used to be home to 7 people.
You can use my phone.
Heaven Glasgow was the last to leave.
Just trying to
get it together. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's a lot.
It is, and everything is just so expensive right now, which is crazy.
Eviction filings in the Phoenix area are surging to record highs.
You know, I was just like, not today. Not today, please.
This judgment does say that you need to move out by the 26th.
In her South Phoenix courtroom, Judge Anna Huberman hears as many as 500 eviction cases a month, more than when the pandemic-era eviction moratorium ended 3 years ago.
There was a belief that there would be a large number of filings, that the evictions would go up, and they did not go up. There wasn't a tsunami.
Do you think you're getting that tsunami of evictions now?
That's what it appears to be, yes.
Since March of last year, Maricopa County has led the nation in eviction filings. The numbers are up 21% here compared to pre-pandemic, topping 83,000 filings. Nationally, about 3.6 million evictions are filed annually, but what's changing is where they're happening. At least 14 cities have seen double-digit increases from 2019. Most are in the Sun Belt, where populations are growing and rents are rising.
It's parents and children who are at the heart of the eviction crisis.
Dr. Carl Gershenson runs the Eviction Lab at Princeton University, which tracks the issue in 34 cities.
So these families are just one unexpected expense away from eviction.
Schedule a time and come get whatever else that you need in the house.
Christopher Aranda lived with his girlfriend in this home for 7 years.
So this is what you need right now.
The lease was in her name when she lost her battle with cancer in January. After not working for months to care for her, Aranda says he couldn't come up with the $3,000 needed to stay.
How are you feeling today?
A lot of memories. It is what it is.
Where are you going to go now?
I have no idea. I got to start from scratch. That's
starting over as Constable Kennedy heads to another door with another eviction order. For Eye on America, Chris Van Cleve, Phoenix.
It's painful to watch. We'll be right back. Actress Shelley Duvall died today at her home in Texas. Duvall is perhaps best known for starring opposite Jack Nicholson in the 1980 horror classic The Shining. She also starred in a string of movies by director Robert Altman, including the musical comedy Nashville and Popeye with Robin Williams. Publicist Gary Springer says Duvall died of complications from diabetes. Shelley Duvall was 75. Now, this consumer alert: Costco is raising its annual membership fees. The retail giant, which last raised its fees 7 years ago, is increasing the cost of a Gold Star membership from $60 to $65 a year. Executive memberships are going from $120 to $130 a year. Costco says the $5 and $10 increases will impact about 52 million memberships. Do the math. Heart of America is next. Finally, tonight's Heart of America. World leaders aren't the only ones honoring NATO's 75th anniversary right here in the nation's capital. Student musicians, composers, and singers representing the 32 NATO countries are celebrating unity in a historic concert. It's a one-of-a-kind event, stringing people together through music. Performing live from the Library of Congress, these two students are among those representing the United States in this worldly symphony.
I think the most unique part of this is that every person in this orchestra comes from a different place.
It's just really nice to be able to be a part of something larger and to be able to make some beautiful sounds while you do it.
The musicians from the American Pops Orchestra, they are tonight's Heart of America. We need more things that can bring us together. And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. I'm Norah O'Donnell. Good night.